When Hyundai introduced the brand's first premium electric SUV to the world nearly 3 years ago, it was pretty obvious that they had a winner on their hands. The all-new Ioniq 5 essentially had excellent packaging, a modern futuristic design that really stood out, and one of the quickest charging EV architectures that you could find in the industry. Well, fast forward around 3 years, and it's time for Hyundai to give the latest Ioniq 5 its first refresh. And as you can see by the design, it's a very evolutionary change. This is already one of the best looking EVs out there. However, underneath the skin, Hyundai has replaced the battery pack with a larger pack promising more range. The tech on the inside got a software upgrade, and Hyundai has also added the J3400 plug, or the NACS plug, which means this new Ioniq 5 has access to thousands of Tesla superchargers across the globe. So as you can see this week, Hyundai has loaned us the latest 2025 Ioniq 5 Limited, and the big question I went answered: has Hyundai made enough changes to their premium electric SUV to keep this vehicle among the best in the segment? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the styling changes that Hyundai has made for 2025, let me go ahead and pop the hood and remind you guys what's underneath here, because just like the pre-refresh version of the Ioniq 5, Hyundai continues to offer a small frunk, although it is still pretty small. Keep in mind, if you want a bigger front trunk storage area, their new flagship Ioniq 9 offers a capacity that is roughly twice or maybe even 3 times of this vehicle. Now, as you can see underneath the hood, you still have this little cover here that boldly says EV. If you lift this up, you can see there's roughly 0.5 cubic feet of storage space here. You can see the car even comes with an adapter here to go from the J3400 to the CCS combo, as well as offering a J1772 adapter. But since we're underneath here, let's go ahead and remind you guys of the powertrain specs. Now, I mentioned earlier the Ioniq 5 got a new battery pack, but that's only on the bigger, longer range battery pack, which now measures 84 kilowatt hours. The standard SE version with the standard range battery pack, I believe, is like 58 kilowatt hours. This limited trim here has the bigger battery pack with the dual motor all-wheel drive. That's an extra $4,000, which means you have 320 horsepower, 446 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers are unchanged from the pre-refresh model, still going out through a 1-speed reduction gear transmission and electronic all-wheel drive. Now, of course, with the new larger battery pack, range has now gone up to around 269 miles. The best range, however, is up to 318 if you guys go for the long-range rear-wheel drive versions. The SE and SEL with all-wheel drive and the smaller wheels gives you about 290 miles of range. The XRT gets the lowest range at 259, although the Ioniq 5N is technically the lowest range model in the entire Ioniq 5 family. Now, 0 to 60 times, Hyundai claims in the mid 4-second range with a top speed of 115 miles an hour. And this vehicle will tow a maximum of 2,300 pounds with a curb weight figure of around 4,800 pounds. This is not the heaviest version of the Ioniq 5, but it definitely is among the heavier models in the actual lineup. But still, it is a little bit lighter versus most of its rivals, which are well over 5,000 pounds. But let's go ahead and close up the hood here and talk about the exterior styling updates. As you can see, this car already had a beautiful standout design, and that trend continues, of course, for 2025, so the changes are pretty minimal. My particular test car is painted in a color called Atlas White Matte, so this is actually a matte finish color, which still has no metallic fleck in it, but the color itself is just very, very bold and standoutish. It's actually an extra $1,000 for this matte color, which is actually not that expensive considering it's a matte finish paint. You can see the new Hyundai logo there flows well with the styling details of this car, which has, again, all of the pixel details with the pixel full LED headlights, which include an LED daytime running light, LED turn signal, LED low and high beams. Down here you can see the limited trim also gets some silver metallic accents. Here you have some integrated parking sensors, an integrated front camera system. This little lower portion below the headlight used to offer like an illumination on some trims, but I don't believe it does so anymore on the updated model. You can see there are some active grille shutters there, which opened up to let the vehicle suck in some air to cool down the battery pack. It will close off if it's not needed. And overall, you can see the design still pretty much looks the same as the pre-refresh model. The Limited, again, is the only trim that gets the silver accent that you're going to see around the side of the vehicle. Now, moving around to the actual side profile, you can see this SUV really, to me, looks more like a big hot hatch. In fact, with only 6.1 inches of ground clearance, it really doesn't have the ground clearance of an SUV. The XRT model offers about an inch more ground clearance. We'll talk about that when we get one for a full week to test. You can see the wheelbase is long, 118.1 inches long, with a 183.3 inch overall length. So this is the same length as a compact SUV, but it's got the wheelbase that's longer than Hyundai's current Palisade. Not necessarily the new one, but again, it's got a long wheelbase, so it helps to push the wheels out to the corner. That maximizes interior space, but again, the footprint is basically a small SUV. You can see the Limited gets these updated 20-inch wheels. This is the only trim aside from, I believe, the N, which has a 20-inch wheel. The N has a 21-inch wheel. These do lower the range, but you can see they have kind of an aerodynamic design. They're riding on a 255 by 45 R20 Michelin all-season tire, Primacy Touring all-season tire. All disc brakes, independent suspension, of course, no adaptive dampers, and the Limited also gets this kind of gray silver metallic trim piece around the lower cladding of the vehicle. Other trims have a darker trim piece, so kind of keep that in mind. If you guys go for the smaller 19-inch wheels, that improves the range to around 290 miles as well. You can see the rest of the profile. You can see the mirrors are power folding, integrated turn signals. It's got the full paint finish, which is kind of nice. You have black accents around the window trim. You have these black low-profile roof rails. And then this trim also includes the ultra-wide panoramic style sunroof, but it doesn't actually open to vent air. It's just a fixed panoramic glass roof, actually. You can see those power retractable door handles obviously look good when they're folded in. And then looking at the rear, the design hasn't really changed too much. It still looks fantastic. I love the pixel theme here that's kind of carried over here with the full LED taillights. Ioniq 5 boldly is spelled out at the back. You can see there's a subtle H-Track badge here to let you know you have an all-wheel drive version. The rear bumper assembly, again, has some silver metallic accents with the integrated parking sensors. The spoiler, I believe, is also functional in helping to redirect the air. The coefficient of drag on this model is 0.288. And then you can see there's a camera there for the digital camera review mirror, your third brake light, and then Hyundai added a rear window wiper to the back end of the updated models, which again is something that owners complained about, and I'm glad to see that they were listening to customer feedback. Now, as you can see, coming to this side, this is where you're going to find the charge port door, and this is where you can see it has the NACS plug or J3400. So that replaces the J1772 with the CCS combo. This car still runs on the 800-volt architecture, which means it can accept up to 270 kilowatts of max DC fast charging, allowing you to go from 10 to 80% on a 350 kilowatt charger in around or less than 20 minutes. If you want to go to a Tesla supercharging station, most of them run on the 400-volt architecture. It'll take about 30 minutes. It has a 9.6 kilowatt onboard charger, which means charging at home on a level 2 can take roughly 8.5 hours, which is still pretty fast. This plug right here, again, allows you to go to Tesla NAC or Tesla superchargers, but you do need to have a Tesla account, but it really just changed the game, and you don't have to worry as much about range anxiety when driving on longer trips. Now, looking at the cargo area, you can see power liftgate, which is hands-free, is included. And you can see, because this is a big hot hatch, essentially, you have around 26 cubic feet of storage space with the back seats up. You can see off to the, or underneath the floor here, there's a little bit of underfloor storage. There's a fix-a-flat kit as well, although this area here could be better in terms of packaging to give you a deeper storage area. If you want to fold down those seats, it expands the cargo to around 58 cubic feet of storage space. Again, 58 is pretty decent considering how this car is roughly like 6 inches smaller versus most of its rivals, and it has about the same cargo capacity as those bigger rivals as well. So very nice practical design, and that's precisely why the packaging of this car Hyundai pretty much got right. Now, once you get past the very minimal exterior design changes, let's go ahead and talk about the interior updates that Hyundai has made this year. Before we get inside, you can see here's the key fob for the vehicle. This is Hyundai's newest intelligent access key. It was first introduced on the Ioniq 6, and as you can see, when you flip it on its side, it reveals the Hyundai logo that's kind of built within the buttons. It almost looks like an egg. I've heard that this silver plastic will wear out very quickly if you guys are an owner, so kind of keep that in mind. I'd perhaps get a cover over it. You get the usual buttons here for lock, unlock, remote start, panic, and then there's also buttons here to access the smart park where you can move it forward and back from the fob standing outside the vehicle, and then there's your power liftgate controls. Hyundai also offers their digital key 2, where you can use a smartphone as a key if you guys are an owner. When you can see, or you can see here when the doors are locked, the door handles will retract, the mirrors will also power fold in, and then as you approach the vehicle, if you do it from afar, or basically walk away then walk back, the door locks will automatically pop out. But because I didn't do that, I have to push the button to unlock it, but you can see they will pull back out, and that will essentially allow you to open up the door. Now, looking at the interior, my test car has the black H-Tex interior, so this is technically a leatherette material. You can't get real leather in any interior of the Ioniq 5. You can also get a gray interior. I personally would go with the gray. This black is very, very dark, but the seat material actually feels very convincing considering this is not a real leather. You have more of the pixel themes carried over here. The headrest feels nice and plush. The seats are also heated and cooled. This is the only trim in the regular Ioniq 5 family that offers cooled seats. These are the relax seats, which offer an extendable ottoman. If you guys are charging, you can take a nap basically and allow the seat to kind of lounge for you. They adjust, it looks like, in 14 different ways. and you also get a 2-person memory over here. The door panel, as you can see, is covered with a soft touch injection molded plastic with some faux stitching. Same thing over here. It's got the H-Tex material here with more of the pixels carried over here. Window controls, they feel high quality, up, down for all 4, and you also have power folding mirrors, obviously. And then this trim also gives you the Bose premium sound. If you guys are an audiophile, it sounds better versus the previous Infinity sound system, I believe, in the pre-refresh model. A little bit more storage over here. This is all hard touch plastic. And you can see there's also a new steering wheel with the Hyundai logo that's got the 4 dots, and it's got a 3-spoke design now. So getting inside, you can see the step-in height feels more like a car because it only has 6 inches of ground clearance. As I shut the door has a really solid sounding thunk, which adds to that impression of quality. Now, starting the vehicle up, start-stop button is here on the dash. Push that, you can see it's got the typical Hyundai chime with the all digital displays. It'll just say ready in the instrument panel. And then all versions, even if you go for the base model, have the dual 12.3-inch display. So you have a 12.3-inch cluster here, a 12.3-inch cluster here that runs on their new CNCC software. This has over-the-air updates and finally wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So that's something that you didn't have in the previous pre-refresh model where you had to still plug in your phone. I love the traditional air vents where you can just adjust them manually. This trim also is the only trim to include a head-up display. This upper portion is hard touch plastic, but over here you can see it's a soft touch injection molded plastic. Same thing from the door carried over here. This is hard touch here with a kind of a texturized feel, and then this right here is slightly padded. Again, it feels similar to what you find over here. Down here, you can see there's a combination of touch buttons and actual buttons with knobs, of course, for your volume and tuning. Your touch controls here are for your HVAC. I like how it's a separate panel as opposed to being in the actual screen. This screen, as you can see, is quick and snappy, very responsive. This trim is also the only trim, I believe, to give you a full 360 camera where you can basically change from different views and you can do a full perimeter scan. This is, again, among the better camera quality resolutions out there, and it also looks really great. It's very quick and snappy, so highly recommend going for the limited trim to get that top feature, obviously. Now down here you can see there's a USB-C charging port, which you can switch between USB-C data connection and just charging connection. There's also a 12-volt power outlet there. Nice storage area over there. And then you can see the center console. This is the new console that we first saw on the Ioniq 5N. It's got a new wireless phone charging pad, although I do wish that this was vented. I noticed that my phone's here, it charges pretty well, but it also starts to overheat my phone pretty quickly. Big cup holders, you can see heated and cooled seats. Love how they're hard buttons. 2-level heated steering wheel, parking sensor control there. So really appreciate how Hyundai was thinking about real buttons there. You have big storage area over here, although that's not covered. If you open this up, you can see that's some covered storage, but it's a little shallow because, again, you have this open area over here. The seats, like I mentioned earlier, pretty comfortable and supportive. You do have an 8-way power for the passenger side as well, but you don't have actually is that relax function with the ottoman. It's only on the driver's side, so kind of keep that in mind. The glove compartment you can see is damped but not lined with felt. It goes into the dash. It's a big glove compartment as well, which is great. You have a digital camera review mirror or an auto dimming. You can switch between two. It's got a frameless design, which looks nice. Woven material for the headliner. You have LED map lighting. And then this is the only trim that also gets the 64 color ambient lighting, where it changes the color in the speakers and along the glow in the armrest area. It looks pretty cool at night. And then, of course, you also have the big panoramic glass roof, which does have a opening and closing shade, which is nice, but it sadly doesn't open up to vent air. It's pretty dark tint, but it's good that Hyundai at least gives you the actual closing shade, which is nice. So overall, the interior still has great sight lines. It has average material quality, solid build quality, and the tech has been greatly improved. I also love the new steering wheel with the 3-spoke design. Your drive mode selector is here. You can see there's 5 different drive modes: My Drive, Snow, Eco, Normal, and Sport. It even changes the way the gauge display looks. You have these paddles on the wheel to control your regen braking. You can also push on these buttons here to control your cruise control and change the way that screen looks. The other cool thing is when you have the vehicle into reverse, which, by the way, the gear selector stalk is here, twist it toward me to go to reverse. This changes red to let you know it's in reversed. When it's in drive or park, it goes back to the white color. So that's kind of a nice smart indication to let you know, hey, idiot, you left it in reverse so you don't back up into something or someone. So again, lots of great tech features, and this interior also feels pretty open and airy with their latest infotainment software and their latest driver assistance software. But overall, let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area. The front seat area is still pretty nice, but this is where the Ioniq 5 also has a pretty accommodating back seat, because as you can see, the legroom back here is among the best in the segment at 39.5 inches in terms of the length. These seats also, you can fold them down to essentially create almost a flat floor to expand the cargo capacity out, which is nice. if you want to actually pull these seats up, you have to do a two-handed process, which is kind of hard. When I'm holding a camera, you can see you can recline this seat, and the Limited is the only trim that gets the retractable sunshades, the manual retractable sunshades. The material quality back here is the same as the front. Soft touch, real leatherette over here. You have 2 level heated seats on this trim and additional storage as well. Once I get back here, you can see, let me readjust these seats. You can actually move these seats forward and back. So it's a great feature that Hyundai basically allows you to kind of move the seat up to give yourself more cargo space back there. With it all the way back, this is where you're gonna get the maximum legroom space. The floor is completely flat, which is fantastic. You have an actual power outlet here because this vehicle does offer a V2L functionality where you can charge external devices. 2 USB-C charging ports, another storage area here. You have 2 storage cubbies in each of the front doors. And then as you can see, there's an armrest that folds down, gives you 2 cup holders. This backseat area is pretty comfortable. I can get back here and cross my legs pretty easily. Plenty of foot space as well. And then there's also a pretty decent amount of headroom. I have maybe a solid 1.5 inches, 2 inches of clearance, even with this panoramic glass roof. So overall, again, if you plan to use the Ioniq 5 as a family vehicle, you get rear seat air vents over here on the B pillars as well. This is kind of why this vehicle has been so popular, because it may be small on the outside, but it has among the most spacious rear seat areas that you're going to find in any compact SUV. So it's hard to believe that the Hyundai Ioniq 5 has been around for about 3 years now. When this car first came out, I very much proclaimed it to be one of my favorite all-electric crossover vehicles. It just had a really futuristic, modern futuristic design, which also had some hints of like retro in the, pixels of the design. It's a really standout electric vehicle. And actually, it's an excellent car in general, not even just an excellent EV. So now that we're driving the refreshed Ioniq 5 Limited for a full week, I have to say the Ioniq 5N is also another top competitor, top choice of mine. However, not everybody has like nearly $70,000 to spend for an all-electric hot hatch that can literally smoke a lot of supercars. So the normal Ioniq 5 actually remains one of the top-selling EVs in the segment, with Hyundai selling a little over 44,000 units last year. This is essentially number 3 behind the Tesla Model Y and the Ford Mustang Mach-E. So the model we're driving is the all-wheel drive Limited. They all come with, most of them will come with a bigger 84 kilowatt hour battery pack, offering up to 320 miles of range, or 320 horsepower, 446 pound-feet of torque. Now, this combination is good for about 269 miles of range. We are starting out this drive with about 98% state of charge. It's showing around 297 miles. Now, on a full charge, this car was showing around 311, which is still a very good amount. That's higher versus what the EPA says this car can get. And I think that the number is probably a little conservative from the EPA and from what Hyundai's estimates, because again, we have that bigger 84 kilowatt hour battery pack. The Limited that we're driving also has 20-inch wheels. Keep in mind, if you guys go for the SEL trims and below, you'll have a 19-inch wheel that improves the range to 290 miles. The best range for the Ioniq 5 lineup is the SE long-range rear-wheel drive, which will do up to 318 miles of range. Again, that's very impressive figures. Keeps up with vehicles like the Ford Mustang Mach-E. It's got more range than the Toyota competitor, what else is the Volkswagen competitor. The Tesla Model Y offers the most range, but again, Tesla tends to at least overstate their range, at least by, history shows us that. But let's go ahead and try a 0 to 60 time. The last one I tested did it in around 4.56 seconds. It's in sport mode, and we're just gonna floor it. Oof. All right, on that run, we got 4.83 seconds. Now, I want to point out that on this particular stretch of road, it's a little bit more uphill. So we'll try it up. We'll try again a second time up ahead where it's more level. The quickest time I've gotten for an Ioniq 5 Limited is around 4.5 seconds. This time is pretty much on par with most of the competitors. The last updated Toyota BZ that I tested did it in around 4.7 seconds, which the new Toyota BZ is actually pretty fast. The Volkswagen ID4 with all-wheel drive, around 5.3 seconds. So, speed is never a problem when you're looking at this type of vehicle. The Ioniq 5 continues to excel, though, when it's just as an overall daily driver. The ride quality is very agreeable. It's very comfortable. It's not too soft, but at the same time, it feels, you know, sporty-ish. Remember, the Ioniq 5N is one of the best handling electric SUVs that you can buy in this segment. So it's no surprise that you find hints of that fire in this architecture. The steering in the car is very quick, responsive. It changes direction so fast that it almost feels like you're driving a hot hatch. I mean, the view of the road basically feels like I'm driving just a big hot hatch, because with only 6.1 inches of ground clearance, this isn't a lot of ground clearance, so don't be trying to find off-roading and whatnot. That's what the XRT is designed for, which gives you nearly an extra inch of ground clearance. Visibility out of the front and the side and the rear is quite nice. This boxy shape allows for great sight lines, and if you have a lot of stuff blocking the way, you can easily put in or switch that over to the digital camera rearview mirror, which will essentially show you almost everything that's behind you. The brakes, this vehicle does offer a one-pedal drive feature when you have it in the max mode. It will let the back step out when you put your foot down. Remember, the more power is coming from the rear axle, and that's something that makes this thing feel more like a sporty hot hatch that's rear-wheel drive, and it's dynamic, which is really fun, honestly. I still love the way this car drives. It's still very smooth. It's still very easy. The seats are also supremely comfortable. But now that we're coming up on this stretch of road here that is on flat surface, let's try one more 0 to 60. I'm going to try brake torquing it this time to see if we get a slightly better time. Definitely feels a little sluggish initially as it ramps up the power. 4.63 seconds there. So 4.6 is pretty much a little bit slower than the quickest time I got at 4.4. I suspect it has to do with maybe a slight increase in weight because the battery pack is a little bit bigger, but still, I mean, 4.6 is nothing to sneeze at. It's a fast time. Remember, if you guys go for the rear-wheel drive version, you're probably going to be looking at the low 6-second range. It's fast enough for most people, honestly. You don't even need a vehicle to be this fast, especially if you're coming from like a normal SUV, like a Tucson, for example. It's just... Oh! Oh, I could never get tired of that. That is so good. I mean, that's the whole thing about this chassis is it handles well, it rides well, it's quick charging as well. So this still remains one of my favorite electric SUVs in the segment. Hyundai has essentially just made it better. I especially love the updated infotainment system too. We now have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It takes up the full screen. I also like how you've got the black border now as opposed to the light gray white border, which I thought was just a little bit too stand-outish in a good way. The leather on the steering wheel feels nice, or technically it's an H-Tex. The seats also hug you in place nicely. I find them to be comfortable and supportive. The seats are also heated and cooled. The cooled seat is only, of course, on this trim along with the heads-up display. There's a lot of stuff that only the limited trim gives you, so it's kind of worth the extra $5,000, so kind of keep that in mind. Hyundai's latest driver assistance tech is also included, where you have a camera that watches your face to make sure you're alert and paying attention. It has lane keep assist, traffic jam assist, adaptive cruise control with full speed range, of course. And this interior stays pretty quiet. If you push this button here, you can go into your different drive modes. Most of you will drive it around in normal or eco mode, for example. It kind of does away with the fake sounds. You can turn that off entirely if you guys don't like the fake sounds at all. But I mean, overall, you want to take this on a longer highway trip, you can certainly do so. It charges fast, and it's comfortable, it's fast, it's roomy inside, lots of storage. So it's no wonder that the Ioniq 5 has become one of the top selling EVs in the segment. Now, in terms of the real world range, this is where I actually have some good news to share with you guys, because even though it's only rated at 269 miles, in my week's worth of driving in temps that have been in the 80 to 90 degree range, and this is mostly highway, granted, I was averaging around 280 to 285 miles of real world range. That is very, very good. Typically, these EVs don't tend to do better than their EPA numbers would suggest, but it's definitely a nice, bonus here where the car is doing really good in terms of the real world range. Remember, it's also one of the quickest charging EVs. You can easily fast charge this on a level 3 from 10 to 80% in roughly like 20 minutes. If you go to a Tesla supercharger, it'll take about 30 minutes. As we start to get hit with rain, this is what the beauty about filming and driving in the summertime. Showers roll in kind of randomly. Again, another benefit of EVs is they have so much grip, and even though it's like wet, damp roads, this thing just still will accelerate crazy fast. So very impressed. This is still a really good car, still fast for 0 to 60, still fast for EV charging. And combine that with the updated technology, the spacious interior, the quiet cabin. This is still definitely one of my favorite EVs out there. Just know the Ioniq 5 is a little bit more expensive versus some of its rivals, but some would argue that it's probably worth the extra couple $1,000s versus some close competitors. Now, with just over 44,000 units sold in America last year, the Ioniq 5 had its best sales year ever, and that doesn't surprise me because the pre-refresh model was, again, one of my favorite all-electric SUVs, and when you factored it in with the strong lease deals and incentives that Hyundai was offering, it again attributed to Hyundai selling the best sales year ever for Ioniq 5. So after spending the full week here with the updated model, it essentially takes some of the criticism that I had of the pre-refresh model and addressed it. Obviously, the main one was around the infotainment system, which lacked wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The redesigned center console also is a big improvement with the new wireless charging pad. I like how Hyundai gives you a nice mix of touch controls with actual hard capacitive buttons, which again, hard buttons and touch controls, having that combination is nice to kind of give you the choice. The interior is still really spacious. The seats are comfortable. The back seat is roomy. The cargo area, while it's not the biggest, it also is big considering the footprint and the size of this car. And then in terms of acceleration, 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds is going to be faster than most people are going to ever want. Keep in mind, again, there's a rear-wheel drive version that'll save you $4,000 that'll still do a 0 to 60 in the low 6-second range. The actual real-world range that I got of around 280 miles is also excellent. It makes this among the best EVs out there for range, and again, it's still one of the best in terms of quick charging. So there's still plenty of reasons to choose the new Ioniq 5, and Hyundai has essentially just taken the best and essentially made it better. But remember, there's a lot of fierce competition out there. Toyota just significantly updated their BZ, which honestly the old model was awful. The new one is finally up to par. There's also the Volkswagen ID.4, which is also a really strong seller. Ford's Mustang Mach-E is also a strong seller. And then, of course, Tesla just updated the Model Y. I haven't had a chance to drive a Model Y, especially the refresh model, in a while, so I'm hoping I can get a hold of one at some point. I have to kind of pull that one from an actual owner because Tesla doesn't really do a press fleet, especially out here in Pennsylvania. But if you are looking to get your hands on the new Ioniq 5, these are already at dealership showrooms, and pricing, Hyundai has definitely kept this competitive, but it is still a little bit more expensive versus some rivals. You can get into a base SE with rear-wheel drive with the standard range battery pack. It offers around 240 miles of range for about $42,000. Add around $4,000 if you guys want the longer range battery pack with more power. If you want all-wheel drive, it's an extra $3,500 to $3,900 extra depending on the trim level. It's kind of expensive to go all-wheel drive. I was kind of hoping Hyundai would cut that price in half because I don't think it's worth necessarily $4,000 to go and add all-wheel drive, even though you do get significantly more power. Now, most of you are probably going to step it up to the SEL trim. The SEL trim is around $49,000. That's going to have most of the features that you want. But remember, if you want all-wheel drive, it'll cost you an extra $4,000, which will push the price to $54,000. There's also an XRT trim, which I'll save that for a separate review. That's the most expensive starting price. The limited trim starts at around $54,700. Again, add $3,900 if you want all-wheel drive, plus the matte paint charge and the destination charge, and you're looking at an as-tested price for this vehicle of just over $60,000. Really just under $61,000, which again makes it around $4,000 to $5,000 more expensive versus most of its rivals at the top end. Keep in mind, a Tesla Model Y starts at around $45,000, around $52,000 if you guys want a Tesla Model Y long range with all-wheel drive. So keep that in mind. The Hyundai is a little bit more expensive, but because this vehicle is now built at their new Meta factory in Savannah, Georgia, it does allow this vehicle to now qualify for the full $7,500 federal tax credit, which is not what all of its competitors are able to claim. So that does help to bring the price down for this vehicle. And it's just great how Hyundai was so quick, basically in less than 3 years, to move production from Korea to Georgia to allow people to, again, take advantage of those tax credits. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 5 Limited. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.